So I'm the tallest person today, so I'm going to set the mic all the way up. Hey, I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today and share a little bit about things. So let me start by clearing all your consciences with regard to, oh no, is this guy going to get up and do a Tom Peters 101 thing, or is he going to tell us about how you can go to Amazon and search on the topic of leadership and 10,000 titles come up? It's nothing like that. It's really to share with you an overall initiative that I'll give you a little bit of background on, that I have personally invested a majority of my discretionary time, that means my personal time, to organically grow leaders within our industry, and I wouldn't narrow it to environmental management, to essentially grow folks within the nuclear ecosystem because of the belief there was, one, a major generational gap, and two, a bit altruistic, to pay forward what folks did for me as I reflected on my career. So one reason for being here is an opportunity to share with all of you so that you could, to whatever level you choose, benefit from that if it catalyzes thoughts as you are looking forward and planning what you should own, which is your career. And you should own it within this industry, and we should be giving you the necessary things, tools, if you will, perspectives, experiences to make that. Second reason for being here is when a partner comes to you and asks, hey, are you willing to share? Are you willing to provide some different perspectives on things? And so we had two partners, Long & Necker, as Marty stated, and then of course our customer and our partner, the Department of Energy, who said, hey, would you come and share? And I don't have any, there's no magic here. There's nothing proprietary about what I'm going to share with you. So when you get called to service by your partner, that's part of being a partner. You come and do that. The third is a very personal opportunity. When you're the general manager of a Super Bowl or national championship winning team and you get invited to stand in front of all the other team's 5-star athletes, you don't ever miss that opportunity. So my other objective is for all of you wearing blue shirts, I'm going to convince you to put a different color shirt on too. So never lose your sense of humor if they've taken everything. So let me share with you a little bit with regard to what we call the Rising Senior Leaders Program. So as a company, we took a very critical look at ourselves in 2015 with the belief and the understanding that we needed to align our resourcing models with our growth models with our strategic plan. So that's MBA 101 stuff. I understand all that. But it was really taking a hard look at ourselves with regard to that. And what we concluded from that was that we had a major generational gap within our industry, with the belief that a majority of that was caused by being a somewhat closed and very stoic industry, and that had precipitated a belief that there was an opportunity in the nuclear ecosystem because you felt like it was a going out of business sale. And as Ike pointed out, it is exactly the opposite. It is a real call to service, a real call to opportunity that can bring parties together. And we had a very profound moment in 2015 in which in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, East Tennessee, one of the first major nuclear projects in decades on the commercial side had gotten finished up. So if you work in our industry, you would remember that Watts Bar Unit 2 was successfully commissioned and put on the grid by the Tennessee Valley Authority, being the first commissioned nuclear unit in decades. Fully operational. About 1,000 people exited out of that project and came into our industry. And we believed, well, boy, this is a way we're going to fill the resourcing gap. This is going to be a great opportunity for us as a company and as an industry. And I think we ended up seeing 3 people join our company as a result of that. Most folks went off to other opportunities. And we continued to see this ever-growing gap and disconnect that existed across all the spectrums of workforce development that we have to do. And so we concluded from that now we had a pretty concerning misalignment between the people who do the work, the strategy, and our growth commitments to the owners of our company. And the conclusion we reached, because I'll give you a little background on this, because we run the company from a shared governance perspective. If you don't have any familiarity with that, that's a very workforce inclusive method for governing an enterprise or governing an organization. We concluded that we needed to fill that gap with an organic growth approach. We didn't need to try to go out and recruit or pursue other people's players. We needed to grow our own players within our own culture so that they were completely aligned and completely read into and completely included, not only in our standard leadership things, mission, vision, principle kind of things, which I'm not saying isn't important and foundational, but that they were connected to the strategy and where we were going to go as a company, so that we had alignment between means and methods, strategy, the people who were going to play that. And so with the belief that when you put the best players in the game with the best playbook, with the best team and the best coaches, you win the game. And you leave less in the hands of the officials, you leave less in the hands of fate and athleticism, and that all of those things coming together produce these amazing, amazing outcomes. And based on as I explained in the beginning, based on my own personal experiences, and 5 people that to this day, over 40 years, I can recall invested in me, who were executive leaders, and I have been with one institution my entire nuclear career, going on 36 years now. And I thought of those 5 people. I thought, this is the place that I could do most good with regard to filling this gap. And so I made a commitment to go all in. And so I teach every Rising Senior Leaders class. And I'll take you through all of that. It's a once a month curriculum. We spend time together. Very focused set of modules, which I'll talk about. I'm going to share with you and give you nuggets for each of those. But I thought, if there's any way to build loyalty to a brand, it was for me to walk that talk and to be in there, not send out notes from Ken or not send out expectations. And I'm really no different than any other general executive or general manager. I live my life in 15-minute increments every day. I did make a commitment to myself that wouldn't happen, but obviously I didn't maintain that. And so by putting this program together that we call Rising Senior Leaders, we established 2 goals. The first is to address the realization that we had in 2015, which is that we had a major resourcing gap. And not just solely in the craft that do the work, or the engineers that technically do the work, or all the service line folks that ensure compliance and delivery and programmatic and policy, but in the overall breadth of leadership. And when I personally looked at it, and we looked at our growth plans, which I firmly believe that we were going to deliver on, and this playbook, I clearly concluded reflectively that we did not have the coaches to coach those players to those outcomes. And again, it's always, if you look at sports programs, If you look at it on the college side, it's athletic directors. If you look at it on the professional side, it's general managers. It is their duty to put the best coaches and the best players on the field to play and let them go build the best playbook. And we had a gap there. So we're going to close that gap with the understanding that that gap had to be closed by the time we got to 2020 to 2021, because that was going to be our opportunity to grow our business by 100% with regard to the next federal contract opportunity to do our job. And then also to organically produce those leaders so that they saw what we were willing to invest in them, what I was willing to invest in them. And then better yet, for them to inculcate that and reflect on that. So as we all will go through, you've probably gone through it already at these stages in your career, because these are the hot runners in our business. That's why you're in here, is a reflection on when I get those pressures for that opportunity, hey, go from team A to team B, that you can make a thoughtful, informed decision if that's really what you want to do. So you don't get caught up in just chasing dollars or chasing zip codes or whatever the case may be that's in your decision-making window, but that you can make a comprehensive decision. And I realize that everybody has a different view on this. Mine was loyalty mattered, because I reflected on those 5 folks that I thought of over that, during 2015, that, 30 years of that experience and what that meant to me. So we put together a process of selection. I'll be the first to tell you that we've refined this over time, as you would expect in the spirit of continuous improvement. But first and foremost, it was folks that were demonstrating an ownership in their career, a true thoughtfulness and reflection of, one, I want to be in this industry. I understand what it means. I understand the importance of it. I understand what it means to me, and where I could go with this. So they saw the opportunity that Ike talked about. I mean, we have 4 professional generations left to go before the environmental liability is 0. And then I would offer you that we are going to start the whole nuclear life cycle again. We're watching that happen in Tennessee. Our industry is taking steps that they only wish could happen 30 years ago. And it's actually being enabled by the successful deployment of the environmental management program, because it's completing the whole nuclear life cycle. So there is generations worth of opportunity wherever you may want to be. And I'm not trying to sell you on it, but I wanted to get that aligned with folks who sort of instinctively saw that and wanted to move out with that, who really wanted to be, in this case, very parochial statement, be part of Team UCOR and what it meant to be part of us. An organization or people that understood the importance of shared governance and what that meant and wanted to be part of that. And then the next is that if you, as I talked and as I went through my own experiences, I always was amazed with how distant, and again, I realize we are in a stoic industry. So so with all that, I always was amazed with how, when I reflected on being in the early stages of my career, how distant the front office was, or in the connectivity. So you really didn't know. And I always reflect on this concept that one of the greatest enemies or diseases of every organization is ambiguity, because people make up the void, and it's rare that it's made up with a consistent understanding. So I felt that these had to be folks that wanted to and embraced collaboration with the executive team and the leadership team overall. we govern ourselves to roughly 10 participants a year. That's been as low as 8 and as high as 12. I'm not as good as math as Ike, but the average of that is 10. So, and then we wanted to use this as an opportunity with the belief that we should extend that. And we wanted to make sure that there was a breadth of diversity with regard to that. And not just traditionally what you think of in that, but across a lens of perspective. And the thing you got to keep in mind is, right now we're running, if you were to look at it from a market cap standpoint or commercial perspective, we're running an $8 billion company. And the American taxpayer is counting on us to do that better than anybody else every day. So just think of what it takes to run an $8 billion enterprise. There isn't a service line, a functional line, a compliance line, a product line, or a service line that you don't need holistically. And so we were going to cover the whole spectrum, including we were going to do something very different. We were going to include craft personnel in our Rising Senior Leadership Program. Essentially providing a pathway to the middle class for those folks who are out there with the tools in their hands every day. And I think that's probably one of the greatest successes of this initiative. So a little bit about the curriculum, then I'm going to take you through the modules. I'll make sure I leave a lot of time for questions. I can be chatty at times, but I'm committed this time not to do that. I have a lot of passion for this topic. So what did we center our curriculum around? And so a decision was made to really center it around what we felt was making a difference as a company, which we believe is our delivery model, our business model. So sitting under that is this concept of shared governance and inclusion. And then a very, my point of view, simple belief that of a very straightforward delivery model. And I call it the path to do unto others what you want done to yourself. Right? So first and foremost, go capture your work. Convince those who assign you the work that you are the right party to do the work. Next so that's sort of the one of opportunity, the quadrant opportunity. Next is really the one of integrity, right? Build what you sold. I tell our RSL recipients many times, when we're talking about this quadrant, I said, think of what you expect of the general contractor who's building your home for your family. You shouldn't do anything different. Or better yet, think of the doctor who, I'll use myself, who's making a commitment to you to keep your grandchildren healthy. I have 5 grandchildren. They're at the center of my life. You expect them to build what they sold. And you expect them to, I'll get to the third quadrant now, to do it with unwavering commitment. So that's the commitment quadrant. So finish what you start. And then lastly, there's a number of modules centered around this on the fact that nobody tells your story better than you do. So tell your story, don't give your narrative away. And what I share with all the RSL participants is that over a course of 13 modules, is that you can apply this delivery model and these principles of these modules to wherever you sit within the organization. Whether you're a general foreman, a superintendent, area superintendent, project manager, functional manager, project controls manager, business manager, CFO, you can apply this across the board. And as it says on the slides, the intent is for this not to be sort of a lecture classroom thing. So we meet once a month and we have an interactive discussion hubbed around each of the models in each of the modules. And a lot of it drives towards dialogue and questions, and then providing a pathway, as I said in the earlier slides, for folks to begin to get engaged with the executives and their lines of business that they're responsible for, as they're seeking out, I own this career and I think I want to go in this path, up to and including a group of the RSL participants who have the energy, the conviction, the confidence to say, listen, I want your job, Ken. I believe I want to be the chief executive of a company. I had an unbridled passion to do that. And so I can relate to the folks that sit up and do that, and I'm happy that we give them a forum to be able to do that, so we can work together to map that out. We're a field-centric company. All our commitments are centered around delivering in the field. And so there's a lot of participation of applying these modules and this model to being out in the field. They're all challenged to get out in the field, to face what the workers face every day. Do not ever lose sight of where the work starts and where it's executed. And then at the end, I wouldn't call it a graduation project, but they are assigned projects by me that align to where we stand as a company in our strategic plan at that point in time. Some of them are offense-based projects. How do we take the next step in our strategic plan? Some of them are defense-based. How do we mitigate this risk? And it's never associated to anything they do in their day-to-day job. And they go off and get to do that. I see Josh is smiling. Josh is a graduate of the program. He's telling Matt, see what you got to look forward to. Matt is in class 5. And so they then go through a series. This is an opportunity for them to demonstrate their critical thinking, their innovation. I can't tell you the number of outcomes that we then, based on these projects, effectuated into the company. So think of that. No better example of shared governance and inclusion than rising senior leaders setting the course in many cases of where the company's going to go, protectively or in the form of outcomes. So let's talk a little bit about the curriculum or the modules. I don't want to make the curriculum sound too illustrious. It's an Apple iOS shared note that I have that I carry in my iPhone and iPad. But I have wonderful support on facilitating this. We have guest lecturers that come in, all those kind of things. So the first module is really an introduction and what I just shared with all of you. Why are you here? What are we doing? What's the objective? And I love the tagline that Kelly came up. Kelly is our creative, tell our story genius. She's in here today, isn't she? Somewhere? There she is. So she didn't believe me that I'd give her a shout out. So and so I love the little taglines between each one. And in the first one, it's really built, as Kelly stated it here, build a community of peers. I have a craft background. I started in general construction 43 years ago. And one of the greatest things I took away from my craft experiences is the value of associational relationships. So if you've had any opportunity to be part of a craft team or a craft discipline, associational relationships are essentially personified there. I mean, very inclusive, a sharing amongst craft and specialists in craft, pride in craftsmanship. And so that's what that module is all about. The second one is what are the expectations of the outcomes of this programs? What do you have as an expectation, and what do we have as an expectation? What do I have? I'm in here investing my discretionary time with the class and discussing it with them. Specifically, kind of the devil's in the details. What what do you understand? What do you not understand? And where are we going to go with this? You got a taste of that in the beginning. The third one is what I sort of opened with, which is owning your career, which is have a plan, be thoughtful, be flexible. Think of it at a macro level. I mean, I'm very appreciative of what Ike had to share. You know, I'm not in any different boat. If I gone down to the micro level and said, oh yeah, you know, 10 years ago, I'm going to be standing here in front of all of you. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be hosting a Rising Senior Leaders initiative. Those are micro level things. That wasn't the case. My vision was the bigger picture one. I'm going to own this to find a way within the system that I've committed to become chief executive of a company so I could do the things we're in here talking about today and giving that forward. So really understand for you what that means. Has anybody done the Golden Circle event or a Golden Circle model where you privately, very reflectively answer the question why? And you're not allowed to answer it with simple things like, well, this zip code's important to me, or this salary is important to me, or what shows up on Thursdays in the bank is important to me. You got to go much deeper into that. That's what we do in this module. Everybody is sent off to go through the why exercise, and part of the why exercise is you never share with anybody why. That's private to you, but that's at the center of owning your career. Next is one of my most favorite ones, which is something if you've had any time around me, or and again the folks that work we work together are probably absolutely sick of this because I bring it up all the time. I felt very proud this morning because at breakfast with my senior customer, who I respect mightily, actually said, manage your environment and make your own luck. So this is the belief that you should play offense, not defense, and that the equilibriums of our industry are not good equilibriums. And so if you don't want to experience them and you want to win the game, then play offense and have the playbook to do that. Who has a chemistry background? So you are familiar with the concept of the Le Chatelier's principle: force equilibriums and chemical outcomes that benefit you, not to your detriment. So that's my one technical thing. That's all I got. So I'm one question deep on that. Fifth module is the delivery model. I already went through that, but was essentially build a playbook, build a strategic plan that aligns to that delivery model, and then stay committed to it. Build a risk profile around it, understand what that is, invest the time, the money, and the people into delivering that playbook. So if you're going to make the decision to run a West Coast offense, or you're going to make a decision to do the run pass option, then you better have a mobile quarterback, right? And so understand those things and get that alignment between strategy, means and methods, and people. Sixth module is the concept of building a brand. And so I'm sure there's varying views on this. The model we use is the Apple branding model. This is not a pitch for Steve Jobs, but I spent a lot of time studying the Apple brand and the good moments and the bad moments, and this concept of how you establish, build, grow, sustain a brand, and what all that means. I mean, you see a great example of it today. Look at the HHI folks that are joining us. This is a great example of Module 6. And understand how that brand delivers the business line at the end of the day, right? It's all about environmental liability reduction, but think of a brand in which, in our case, You reduce environmental liability at a rate greater than the expectation of the American taxpayer, which is our duty and moral and legal obligation that Ike went through. But better yet, you then use that to enable economic development and economic outcomes, so that a community is growing, it's not dying as you're doing that work. That's what our brand came to be. Next is that, and I can spend a lot of time on this topic, and actually on this module I can get myself in trouble a bit too. It's understand the magnitude of the enterprise that you have responsibility to do. So UCOR currently sits, I told you, it's an $8 billion company. We are obligated to the American taxpayer to do roughly $600 million a year in business. We're a private equity-based company, so we have three owners. Our majority owner is Amentum. That's where I've got this 36+ year career with. And so we have a responsibility to a balance sheet. We're all with the belief that all of those things can line up, and the duty to do that. And so all of this is discussed in here. And so the real message I share with the recipients here is that at the end of the day, comport yourself this way. This is not to take anything away from program management, project management, financial management. Realize all of those are part of running this multi-billion-dollar enterprise every day, and comport yourself in that manner, and understand what that responsibility means. Understand what you're signing up for. Next is that the fun I have with the folks on Module 8 is that if somebody will not finance or capitalize your work, you don't get to do your work. So this is quadrant 1 of the delivery model. Capture your work. If somebody's not willing to pay you to do your work, guess what? You do no work at the end of the day. So it's really about understanding how your work is financed and how it's capitalized, and the duty you have to the people that are putting that capital up. And we call them appropriators in our business, right? But let's never lose sight of the fact that at the end of the day, it's really the American taxpayer. It's every one of us. And so do unto others like you'd like done to yourself in that area. Next is if you're running a large commercial enterprise, your duty is to sustain and grow that enterprise so that that opportunity continues to present itself. So it's the alignment of capture your work, build what you sold, finish what you start, tell your story, and repeat business. The most beneficial and most economically favorable business is repeat business. And keeping all the way around that life cycle. And I believe we're there as an industry. I believe that as related to the whole nuclear ecosystem, it's an uncapped opportunity because we've been able to close that life cycle. And so the opportunity for growth is immense. I mean, we're talking nuclear new build, new medical isotopes, fusion, neutron sciences. I mean, you can go on and on. And the ability to close that life cycle, which all of you and tens of thousands of others have done, is now enabling us to go around again and grow that business. In 2011, UCOR was a $1.3 billion company. As it sits here today, it's an $8.4 billion company. Not solely enabled through this, but with the understanding of that delivery model, and at the end of the day, do unto others like you'd like done to yourself. 10 I've already talked about. We've got some of the strongest communicators. I put Kelly on the spot there. Sonia Johnson, who leads all the stakeholders interface and programs for us, is here, which is including our communications organization. We tell our story. We partner our narrative with our customer and our community and the outcomes. And so we have a whole module devoted to this because when you're leading an organization, regardless of the size, it is be able to tell your story and don't let that. And what are some of the approaches to doing that? It goes right to the point, Ike, that you made regarding the ability to communicate. And it doesn't have to be like a paid actor on the screen. It has to be genuine, honest, intentful, thoughtful. The 11th module is governance. So again, if you're a multi-billion-dollar institution, we're an operating chartered limited liability corporation. We have owners, like I said, and at the end of the day, you have a governance structure, and you are legally obligated to that. So as a leader, regardless of where you're at in your progression through the leadership ladder within your organization, understand what your operating agreement is. Understand what governs you. And make sure you're comporting yourselves, and that's the price of admission, that you're delivering to that. I reflect on our operating agreement regularly to get guidance with regard to making sure that I'm satisfying my duties to our board of directors and to our owners and to our client, because when you do federal contracting, your operating agreement is provided as part of your offer to the government. 12th module is labor relations and management. So I have a real passion for this one. This is where the work gets done, and do not lose sight of the workforce who are putting tools in their hands, whatever their tool is, whether that's a 3D CAD model, to a piece of heavy equipment, to a truck, to a piece of non-destructive analysis equipment. Do not lose sight of the critical importance of that and the fact that everything is centered around them. They're at the center of why things happen, and that we have a duty and an obligation, and understand what it means to be part of an environment that may have someone who's represented or collectively bargained, and a responsibility to that. So we spend quite a bit of time in that. We are fully organized as a company, which is actually an interesting circumstance, being in a right to work state. And so conflict with craft and labor does not result in the work getting done. So understanding how to comport yourself within the bounds of labor relations is extremely important. So to kind of round things up, again, this is sort of ever evolving. And we had a recommendation by a number of class participants to make a few changes or additions, and a recommendation or an offer from our customer that could we add another module that's the voice of the customer. And so we'll be doing that for class 4. That's the first time. Jay has offered to come and provide a voice of the customer session, and I think really that's born out of the fact that part of our governance is our customer always has a voice of the customer time with our board of directors. So why shouldn't they, especially customer leaders that are engaging with our projects? And so we'll be doing a voice of the customer module. Actually, that's coming up here soon for class 4. And then we also, in the spirit of giving and being good corporate citizens, or corporate stewardship or community stewardship, our class 4 asked to do a service projects. And so you see examples of that on here being led by some of the class 4 participants. So I'm going to finish up with outcomes. So we've done 4 classes. We have 40 graduates. At the end of the day, is things working? Remember, I started with, help people understand how to own and manage their careers, with the understanding that everything that happens in the executive ranks is a bilateral decision, right? We make an offer, the individual makes a decision. There's a bilateral action taking place. Both parties should be as informed as possible to get to the right decision there. And to me, the definition of the right decision is, how's our retention rate? So we've got 90% retention rate on our rising senior leaders. So my objective was to build loyalty and to enable folks in essentially an uncapped world of opportunity within our industry, and that's happening. Another objective that that at the end, we would be producing leaders that were much more visible than, I call it stock value, who had the visibility in the stock value that they could pierce the veil of being a key personnel. So if you've been on federal contracting, that's a very select few. It's the requirements to be there, the ability to be part of the capture of a multi-billion-dollar federal contract, and the constraints around that in a very stoic industry is tough. And so I felt that by 2020, 2021, when the next contract was going to be offered, that we needed to put our money where our mouth was at and put up next generation executive leaders that could effectively be selected as key personnel. And you see two of those folks picture on here. I'm not trying to make it awkward for them. One of them's here, one of them's not here yet. Ashley is sitting in the back there. And so both these folks are in key personnel roles defined in the contract, selected through the process that the federal government has. I'm not saying that doesn't exist anywhere. I don't have a perspective to what level it exists anywhere else within our industry. But this was a proud moment because this meant we were closing the gap and we were doing it in partnership with our client. And then another 9 folks are in senior leadership roles. One of those is a craft person that was a general laborer in 2011, is now an enterprise executive running a $105 million a year enterprise for us, and actually leading the path to our next strategic delivery, the commitments we've made to Ike and the team, which is completing the CERCLA cleanup activities at the Heritage Center, formerly known as East Tennessee. A majority of the folks, based on their progressions, are all in leadership opportunities moving forward. So I'll finish with it and then take your questions. So this kind of shows you how things fit within our overall workforce development hierarchy. This was the model that came out of 2015 when we said, hey, we got a problem. You can't realize it on a Thursday and have it fixed on a Monday. We're going on a journey. We know where we need to be. We know where we got to be aligned to. We got an aggressive strategic playbook. We want to win the Super Bowl by 2020, and this is how we're going to do it. And so if you want to hear more about this, Sonia Johnson actually will be in a panel talking about this at the cleanup workshop. We have, what you see here, we have resourced roughly 1,200 folks out of this in a 7-year window, working in partnership with our community, working in partnership with our customer, working in partnership with our owners. Everybody has put skin in this game to get to that outcome, so that when we popped corks in 2020, we could do it again in 2022, and then we can do it again in 2024, and we can do it again in 2027. That's all the waypoints in our strategic plan. So with that, I left a bit of time with branding. The future begins with cleanup. Kelly, I'd have gotten a feedback session on that if I didn't cover that. So what questions do you, and again, I'm here all week. We can get together too. We built all of this under the execution of a federal contract. There's nothing secret here. There's nothing proprietary. I will talk with you about anything you want to talk about. Especially if it recruits you into a different jersey, I'm all in for that. No, all kidding aside with that. But if you want to talk some more, then come by. If you want to have a direct perspective, we've got folks here from UCOR that are been through the program. If you'd prefer to have a grassroots discussion, engage with them. But what questions do you have for me that you'd like to talk about now? Yes, ma'am. They're selected.
So nominated by someone else?
They're nominated by and sponsored by an executive in the company, or by me personally. I spend quite a bit of time in the field, so I usually sponsor anywhere from 2 to 4. Okay, I got the red sign here. So again, I'll be oh yes, Matt.
So as you mentioned, I am going to be in your upcoming class. Very excited about that opportunity. The question was, when folks have the opportunity to go through something like that, what would you recommend to them to do to get the most out of that?
Participate, see how it applies to you, and then make something of it. Really, when you reflect on that why piece of it, and then how that associates to your career, your duties to your family, your duties to you individually, all the points that Ike made, make something of it. Because we've got roughly 2,400 folks in the company, and 50 have been selected to be quarterback. So make something out of it. It's a duty you have to yourself and actually to others. Yes, Christine. Yes, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, this is not a competitive singular thing to either our majority owner or just our minority owner or principal owners. We have, like I said, we have 3 different owner positions in the company. It is offered to everybody that makes up Team UCOR. So this, in this case, we have 4 pre-selected small business partners. Actually, 2 of them are now mentor proteges. And then we have 3 owners. So everybody that makes up the UCOR populace is offered this opportunity. So we've had many folks that have graduated that are not affiliated to even one of the owners of the company. Wait. Okay, I'll get to you in a minute, Josh.
Something Mike's hadn't been what you were saying. Have you considered for people starting to have them rotate to different positions during their first part of the company? When I first started years ago at the local utility, we spent our first 3 years rotating to different departments until after our first 3 years, we really received our permanent assignment. Get a feel for what we do want to do. Have you looked at doing something like that?
Yeah, yes, we do. Yeah, we do. Under that, I'd ask you to go to the session that I referenced that Sonia is going to be in, because that's a pretty big part of our approach. And not in a force-fitting thing, but more of a progressive, again, people being part of that. Josh?
Yeah, the opposite of this class says for UCOR. You ever considered like maybe sponsoring a similar type course for frontline supervisors, maybe even led by some of the RSL graduates, kind of maybe some of the craft looking to move into entry level supervision?
Yes, actually, we're looking into that. We did have a general foreman, first line leadership class that was taught by our previous COO who retired, and now we're looking at kind of dusting that back off so that next generation median age of craft has come down from 60 to 45. So it's time for us to look really diligently, Josh, to your point about how do we do something similar with foreman, general foreman, superintendents, working leadership within the craft. I feel very comfortable that that folks that work for us are asking me questions. So, Anna. One is be visible. 2, truly understand where you want to go and where, similar to the previous answer, where you fit. But better understand how you can capture this opportunity. There's many wonderful examples, as you know. But I think what it shows is that at the end of the day, there's so much opportunity out there that you can even be, if you use me as an example, 43 years ago being a general laborer, and today I'm honored to get the opportunity to stand in front of you and have a discussion like this. There is so much opportunity in this industry, and there is something in it for everyone. And I don't understand a lot of the other economics because I haven't been at the other sites in a while, but in East Tennessee, the folks that work in our nuclear ecosystem industry, it's double the median wage. Now, I'm not saying that it should be about the money only. That's not my message. But that's a reflection of opportunity, and you can build on that. It really, really is an industry that does great work and be a pathway to middle class for everyone that participates in it. Okay, I'm up on time. I'm going to be around, like I said, all day. I'm staying for the whole thing, and then I'll be at the reception tonight, and then I'm at the cleanup workshop. So again, as Ike left you with, take advantage of being here. Be visible. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Ken. We've built in a break here, about 15 minutes, not just for you to stretch your legs and maybe recaffeinate, but in hopes that we could start the discussion informally amongst us as a group. So I encourage a bit of connection and discussion here, maybe taking a first whack at the survey, certainly before you leave here today. But take a few minutes, stretch your legs, connect with your peers. We'll be back here in 15 minutes for our next segment.